She's an enchantress, destiny's tree. Fear and doubt, she sets them free. Inner light guides the way, every night and every day.
Oh my gosh, you guys, Happy New Year. How was your New Year's? Mine was pretty quiet, other than the fireworks bouncing down the street. But, you know, the mundane astrology didn't waste any time with what was going on in the world, coming from New Orleans, New York. But anyway, I will tell you that this Mars retrograde that was in Leo, that was opposition Pluto, really like got in my head. I started wanting to just I was questioning everything. I know that I'm going through a transformation and I was ready to just throw everything out and start from scratch. It was a roller coaster. And can you believe that we are already into the first week of January? Like, this time is just, it's crazy how fast it's going. And on my last video, I was talking about how I want to create this 12-day series around, you know, escaping the matrix. And the matrix isn't a place, it is a mindset. But, I was just feeling the energies strongly of what is going on in the world. And I'm sure that you're feeling those energies also. And so when I was talking about escaping the matrix and I want to do this 12 series, this like a playlist to kind of help you, and also having it attuned with your astrological chart, because that is the only way. When you get to know yourself, when you know yourself better, that is when you have more self-awareness. And because you're more self-aware, your critical thinking is on board and you're not manipulated. And so I know, like, the Golden Globes happened the other night, and I just don't care. I don't know if you guys are feeling that, but I just don't care. I've never really cared. Um, Here's a story for you. I used to work for the Hard Rock in Newport Beach, and I remember one night, Tanya Catane and her husband came in with their children for dinner. And if you don't know who Tanya Contain is, she was that beautiful redhead that was on the cover of the White Snake album. And because I'm not starstruck, I just waited on them like they were just, another family that came in. And he was so upset that I wasn't doting over him. Now, she didn't care, but I always felt like to respect people's privacy. And, I just didn't care. And so he was just so bent out of shape because I wasn't, you know, in awe or, awestruck over who he was. I think that was like a lot of the, kind of a narcissistic behavior. But anyway, I just never have been. And so getting back to escaping the matrix, it is removing yourself from all of this junk, I like to call it, that's distracting you from really getting on board with your life. And one of the things that came up for me is, I don't know if you saw some of my other videos where I was talking about Hecate, however you pronounce it, and how a lot of women are feeling her energy around. And if you don't know who she is the goddess. I did create a video, but I'm going to just go over it briefly. She is the goddess of the crossroads. And if you see a picture of her, she's holding a torch and she has two dogs with her, and her symbolism is the key. Also, birds, crows, spiders, dogs, snakes. So if you see those symbolisms, I did say spiders, but she's really trying to make some connection with you. And the reason why is because we are at this crossroad, right? We're at the beginning of a new year. And it's like, are we going to continue doing the same thing that we did last year? Or are we going to step in to a higher version of ourselves? And part of being in that mindset of being in a higher version of yourself is understanding your value and your worth. And so I did look up some statistics about, around relationships. And one of the things that I found was on the hotline that 1 out of every 3 women have been physically abused by an intimate partner. And I thought is that's staggering numbers. And that's in the United States. And so it got me thinking, like, Hecate she's coming on board because she wants to empower you. And so the reason why I talk about this is the fact that even women who are seen in the public still get themselves in these situations. And so, even in my book, I write about this series that I came across that really hit home with me, and it was called Dirty John. And Dirty John was about this really well known designer. Even though she was extremely successful, she didn't have value. And her and we had a lot of parallels for the simple fact that I used to work in Newport Beach. She was a designer in Newport Beach. I started designing interior. I started an interior design business. And my mother was very codependent. And so I could see like the things that she was doing because um, she, in order to, if you haven't seen, I think you can still find it, but she went on a dating app to meet someone. And on this dating app, she met this guy he said he was a doctor. And so she was thinking, oh, well, he's at her caliber as far as success. And they went on a few dates and he really swooned her. And she believed, even though there was red flags, she overlooked them. And it turned out he was a heroin addict, he was homeless, and he was a sociopath. And he had abused his wife prior. And her daughters did not like him, but she refused to look at all the signs, and she got herself in a situation with him. And it reminded me of my mom because my mom was looking for love in all the wrong places because she had low self-worth. And because she had low self-worth, she didn't pay attention to the red flags. And so women are very intuitive, and we know our gut tells us when something's off. And either you're going to listen to it or you're going to ignore it. And so I was watching this series and I was just getting so triggered by how gullible she was and how she wasn't listening to her daughters, because it was bringing up a lot of stuff for me because I was one of those daughters who would tell my mom, this guy is no good, and she wouldn't listen to me. And so it brought up a lot for me. And that's what took me down the path of doing the inner work, believe it or not, because I knew that I wanted to work with women and I didn't understand how I was going to work with women. But watching that series, I really started to understand that I was going to work with women who was dealing with codependency and who didn't know their worth and help them find who they are. And so when I made that declaration, all of the goddesses came forward to help me in this process. So that's why, even going back to Hecate, if you're feeling this, like, she wants you to take your power back. She is trying to get you to remember who you are. And so, like, I had Goddess Ishtar, and Goddess Ishtar is this very fiery energy. She came in as the orange flame, but she also represents the Venus, the star, the planet Venus, and the morning star. And she went down in the underworld. And so, she is that warrior type goddess. And then Hecate is the one who's trying to lead you out of the darkness and to do the shadow work, as well as Lilith. Lilith wants you to show up unapologetically and to own your shadow self. Any shame and guilt or trauma that you have, any belief you have about yourself, to really integrate that and to become the person that you're here to become. And so when I was watching that show, it just really got me fired up. And that is when I announced to my husband that I was going to close my interior design business and I was going to start working with women. And I was kind of shocked because he was like, wow, I'm really proud of you. And that's not what I expected from him. And the reason I didn't expect that from him is because a year prior to that, he had a job offer and I refused to move because of my interior design business. And I convinced him that it wouldn't be a good move financially because I was making a good income in my interior design business. So I knew it was going to raise some red flags. But what I didn't know is that I was still operating from some of those limiting beliefs of having low self worth and codependency and being passive in my relationship. So, why I was getting triggered, I thought I was being triggered because of my mom, but really why I was being triggered is it was bringing up some things in me as well. Because I often talk about this that you have DNA strands from your ancestors, from your lineage. And this lineage is a limiting belief that you bring into your lifetime that you're unaware of. And epigenetics talks about this. And you operate from that limitation, even though you don't think you are. Like I thought I was completely different from my mom. And when the veil was removed and I realized, and when my guide said it was time, what they were saying was it was time for me to do the inner work. And so I went to work and I started learning things about myself. I understood where I didn't have healthy boundaries. I understood where I had codependency and where I wasn't listening to my intuition. And so I took all of that and I really honed into healing that. And then through my journey of learning about astrology, I learned that my Chiron is in the house of self worth. You've often hear me talking about this on my channel because your Chiron is this core wound, this karmic wound that you bring into this lifetime that you're here to heal in order for you to step up as this highest version of yourself. And I've done so much work around this, let me tell you. And I do feel like I'm finally stepping into that highest version of who I am. And let me tell you, it's not easy. The journey is not easy. But today I want to talk about the second house and the seventh house when it comes to detaching from the matrix. And if you're new here, my name is Celia and I show up here every Tuesday with a mini masterclass. I was thinking about this too. Tuesday is ruled by Mars, and Mars is all about acting as if and taking action and pioneering in something new. And I didn't even put that two together. I just thought I would share that with you. But yeah, so the thing is, I knew that I needed to, peel back these layers. And then when I started learning about astrology and understanding that your second house and your seventh house are in relation with each other because they're both ruled by Venus. Going back to beautiful Venus. See, Venus wants the best for you. She wants you to have a Venusian life. She wants you to know your value. She wants you to show up like Cleopatra. It's like you are the queen of your throne, right? It's that empress energy. And so if you are having issues in the second house with your money, you are having issues in your relationship house as well. Also, how you how you behave in a relationship is how you will behave with your money. So, for instance, if you are codependent in your relationship, like we were talking about this interior designer, her codependency led her to freaking date a sociopath who was a heroin addict and homeless, and she didn't have a clue because she wanted somebody to love her so badly. I don't mean to laugh about it, but it's like even going back to the staggering statistics that 1 in every 3 women are in a physical abusive or have been physically abused by an intimate partner. It's just crazy. And I'm not saying I've never experienced that, because I will tell you, in my younger years, I had 2 partners that put their hands on me. My husband that I'm married to now, never. He would never. So I learned from those. I learned my value from that. And I love how the second house and the seventh house will show you, like, according to the zodiac sign, and if you have any planets in that house, will show you how you are in a relationship. So, for instance, I have Leo in the seventh house. I also have my son. So I'm very generous, in and loyal in a relationship. But when you look at my Pisces energy and my money house, because of Venus, I'm also very giving when it comes to money, because it is part of my love language. So I needed to learn some boundaries around that. And that's going back to the Chiron of having low self worth and then feeling like your value was wrapped around money. So in your seventh house and your second house, and if you go up to your eighth house where you build that trine and you want it to be favorable, you want to look at what your placements are in the eighth house, because your eighth house is resources, other people's money. And the reason why you want to know how you deal with other people's money from the eighth house is because you'll understand if you have credit card debt. And even when I was talking about in the last video, how when we want to escape from the matrix, it is this belief of our spending, right? To have the things in order to feel worthy. And so your natal chart really just, it shows all of those aspects of who you are. So it's really time for us to just get this right. Get this right this time, not fall into the old patterns, the old behaviors, the old beliefs. And like I said, if you, or maybe I didn't say it, it's like journaling and getting to know yourself and knowing your habits and this relationship that you've had with your family members, and then looking at how you have partnership and then your relationship with other people's money. Because also, the the eighth house is the house of intimacy, and so your value is wrapped up in that as well. Are you giving yourself away freely, physically? And do you think that your worth is wrapped up in that? And when I think of it, it's like when you think of the second, the eighth, and the seventh house, and the relationships and how they're all connected into like your material world, and how women use their physical bodies to get attention or even, to make money. Um, we it's still happening. I mean, we do have like OnlyFans, right? Let's just be for real. And so it's really like it is having a moment of self awareness so that we can step out of that belief system, so that we can move into a new direction as women. And like when I was talking about like Hecate's energy and the goddess energy that's coming through, it's so that you can empower yourself and show up unapologetically in your life, and to really claim back your power. What is it that you want? Do you still want to be on the hamster wheel of not knowing your value, not knowing your worth, looking for a relationship to fill the void, not getting what you want, being in a relationship that's unfulfilling, and then getting yourself financially in debt because you don't know your worth? And, it's a vicious cycle. And so when you're talking about unplugging from the matrix, it does come back to your self worth. It does come back to knowing what your value is. If you have a journal, use your journal. If you're one of those that you picked up a journal for the new year, this is what you want to start your new year with, is getting clarity around those 3 houses and your relationship with yourself, with others, and with your money and other people's money. You want to get clear on that because that's going to empower you and it's going to change your behavior. Because when you become self aware, that is when you take your power back. When you're not aware of your behaviors, then you're just in a loop doing the same things, expecting different results. So, your journal, like I said, I do have a journal. I'll put it down below if you're interested in mine, because I do show you how to sync up with the moon's energy. And then also there's some astrological things in there. And then there's some, questions, some to reflect on for the new year. And then there's some powerful hidden incantations in there for you to take back your power to affirm who you really are. Otherwise, just start writing it down. Start getting clear, because 2025 is going to be the completion of old cycles. That's what it's the nine, it's number 9. It's the 9 year, and it's the completion of a cycle. It's like you're finally, all of those wounds that you have, all of those beliefs that you have, it's like you're going to end the cycle so that when we're in the 10 year, you have fully completed and now you're ready to do things differently. I'm going to leave that there for you. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask them down below. I have lots of videos on here that you can watch. And I would really love it if you would hit that subscribe button. That's one of my goals, is to start monetizing my channel, because I am going to create passive income for myself. Like I said, this is how we're going to get out of the matrix, is we're doing things differently. We're not clocking in and working a 9 to 5. We're going to get creative. And yeah, I will see you on the next video.
Destiny's tree, fear and doubt, she feels no shame.